Hi, how much money should you have when you retire? Hey, this is Jeff at Below Average. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And try to get through, if you can get through about halfway through the video, I'll probably have a little more specifics on this. Um, but I'm sure you're just like me. You have coworkers that have, when you talk about retirement, you know that maybe their spouse makes a lot of money and they talk about how they struggle. Why maybe you're a single parent or a single household earner. You got more kids than they have. You hear some people that don't even want to talk about it, and maybe they have a lot of money stuck away, or maybe they haven't even started yet and they should have a long time ago and they don't want to admit it. You get some people that when they talk about maybe how well they're doing, they never mention until you find out later that maybe they inherited a lot of money. So all kinds. You have people maybe who inherited not just money but a home. How about individuals who parents had a lot of money or grandparents and got left all the way down through the system? These are things you don't know. So when you watch the news, the financials, the YouTube videos, and they're all talking about, need $1 million or you better start saving, when you're 18, and all these scenarios, and the average, there's a big one, the average person at this age or the average person, at when they retire, or the mean, they'll use these different numbers or labels to throw on out. It's always seems to be crazy money. $1 million gets talked about, 2 million, 5 million, all this kind of stuff. And as some of that could be true, if you're making a lot of money, you're a crazy earner, which is great. But I guarantee you, most of those people are probably shaking in their boots too. So, is what I'm getting at with all these scenarios is that don't go looking for what the average is. Don't go looking for what somebody's telling you should have. Don't look at all these different statistics. Is what you need to do first, is what I mention in about every video. You must have a budget, everything wrote down, so you can go month to month and see where all your money's going. See the crazy outlying expenses that happens to everybody, car breakdowns, different presents, or different things that happen, things you don't even think about. And I personally think you need to keep track of this for a solid year to catch all the little incidentals throughout an entire year. And even then, it won't be 100% accurate, but you'll be pretty darn close, or at least pretty good about seeing, at least seeing the numbers on paper. For myself, that actually made me a little bit more scared, seeing all the incidentals. What happens? Everybody can come up with, oh, I spend this, I got a car payment, house payment, some food, this and that. But when you put it on paper, or you use a computer and use some fancy site, which you don't have to do, you'll start noticing that they're probably spending more than you think. And then this is the way you can look at how do you cut back. Because when you want to retire, or do you want to know what number you think you have to be at approximately for retirement? This is the first thing you need to know. And you need to know this 10, 15, 20 years maybe before you retire. That makes it so much easier. It'll bring your stress level down. Because one thing is, numbers don't lie. You don't fudge the numbers, you put everything on there. So when you look back on that and you see, you'll realize this is truly what it takes. And if you can always remember that numbers don't lie, that people do, that'll help you out. That would also help you out. So, for my example, you need to have a budget. You go through that, you hit your numbers, you see where you're at, look at it every month, every week, and after about a year, you'll have, I think, a really good idea, and utilize that number to correspond to what you have for retirement. Where are you at that point going in, without even looking initially maybe at Social Security? Now, all you have to do is go on the Social Security website. If you don't have an account, create an account. It's real simple, real easy. You'll get in there and you'll be able to see your approximate numbers when you retire. 62, 63, you can put any number in from 62 all the way to 70, and you can end up seeing the approximate number, or your check will be approximately. So that's huge. That's huge. This is where you'll be able to determine where there's a lot of talk of, do I retire early? Don't I retire? If you're physically healthy and working, when do you stop? That number there will help you determine versus your budget where you should be at. Then to me, you look at your what you have stuck aside. If you have a pension, you're one out of whatever, probably 10,000 people or 100,000. I don't even know what it is anymore. I only know that teachers pretty much are the only ones that get pensions, and maybe higher up individuals within companies. But you're below average, which my channel are average. Those people, I don't know of anybody in that group that's ever getting a pension anymore. So you look at your 401k and what you can put into it, and where you're at. And the big thing is looking at your risk tolerance. Now you probably will have to, if once you do your budget, you check your Social Security, and then you look at where you're at in investing versus your age and where you want to retire. At that point, you might have to look at how aggressive you are in your 401k. And at that point, you might have to determine if you've been a little conservative, you might have to change that, especially if you're knowing you might be 8, 9, 10 years out. You might have to change that for X amount of years to try to utilize that to leverage for more money. And or what I am having to look at doing is I am going to have to work later in life, at this point, than what I probably ever would have thought. I'll probably try to go to maybe age 70 for Social Security, and that's because my wife don't work. So when one passes, you get the greater of whoever has the greater amount of Social Security come in. That's the only check that's left. And obviously at that point, that would be a major plus. Plus, when I do look at my budget and I try to tie that money into that, because I'm in my late 50s, so I'm not drastically far away. It gives me a good example of what to do. And then you back in and look at your 401k. And so if you can work longer, if you have to, that might suck. But if you know it now and make it maybe easier later, and you got the options of, if you're conservative investing, you might have to go aggressive. And even if you're kind of close to retirement, you maybe have to change that up a little bit, maybe. So don't look at these numbers where people throw out $1 million. Most people, if you're making under 50 grand a year, which is probably 70% of the people live in the United States, you won't, if you had a home, you had kids, and you went through the normal things in life, maybe didn't even inherit any money or anything like that, and you will almost impossible, and you'd have to have the same job for all that time frame, which is almost impossible nowadays. I did a video not long ago about approximately how many you go back a couple generations ago, one job, retirement. Next one was 1.5. My generation was like 3. My kids are like 4 to 5, and now they're like 6 or 7 because there's no job security out there. There's no pensions offered, things like that to keep people at one job. And most jobs shut down and they left thanks to NAFTA. Thank you. So that maybe goes off a little bit on a tangent there, but the core part is don't look at what anybody else is doing or what anybody tells you or say. Do your budget, look at your Social Security, see where you're at, and if you have to end up putting more in, then at least it's easier to do 1 or 2% more now than at the end. All this stuff is, you can end up finding little things online that you can plug numbers in that are free, and you can plug numbers in if you have to see if you added 1 or 2% of your 401 where you're at, what approximately you could be at. But if you are behind on those, the options will be, maybe I work a little longer, I take my Social Security a little later, or if you take your Social Security early, you don't do nothing on your 401 and you let that ride out for a few more years. Different scenarios like that. But once again, numbers don't lie. And this would be the simplest thing for every average individual to do. You can start it right now, and within like 6 months, at least you'll have a good idea on your budget. Go on a Social Security website tonight, you can at least get those numbers. Those numbers won't drastically change for a long time. And your number, if you have money in a 401k or some kind of investment, where that's at now, and it's easy to project out. So these things are easy to start off and do, and you can make changes slowly if needed. And that's what I would say. Don't go by a number. Don't go $1 million this and that, because like I said, high income earners, I guarantee you most of them are not even sticking enough money away to hit the numbers they're supposed to when they're making 100 grand or 80 grand, 100 grand more a year. Most of those people, in theory, could or should be millionaires by the time they retire, and they won't because most people, when you make a lot more money, you sure blow a lot more. So that would be one thing I would look at too, is that's where the budget comes in. You stick to the budget, you see where you're at, you start making changes. Don't go out and get stupid. And if you're making 50 grand a year and you're behind on all these, you go get some crazy car payment, you cut that down in half, or you get something much cheaper than that, until you can get some things straightened out. But you'll never know until you start with a budget. And this is how you'll know about how much you need for retirement. So no, this was no specific number, $1 million, 500 grand or whatever. You just need to do these other steps I mentioned first, and then you work on your 401k to go along with it. Simple steps. This isn't complicated. Numbers don't lie. Obviously, the earlier you start, the better. If you're in your 20s and 30s and seeing this, you need to lock that down now. And then also, you need to have a home. You don't want to go into retirement renting, because I tell you what, the rental places, if they can, they will screw you every way they can. You are done. You will be pinned in and you won't be able to go anywhere, and they will suck the money right out of your account every month when you hit retirement, and it will never get any better. You need to get into a home. You need to get out of that stuff. As even if a home's tough and it's hard, hey, I've been through it. I'm still going through it. Been here forever doing it. My home won't even be paid off in 30 years because of that kind of stuff. But in the end, I'll be 1,000 times better than the person that's still renting down the road that decided not to go through anything that my family went through. So easy, simple steps. At that point, you'll get an idea of what you're going to be comfortable. And I would suggest the number, whatever you come up with on your 401k at the end. If you're looking at, let's just say you're looking at 100 grand. I know people who made a crazy amount of money in their lifetime, should be close to millionaires, and only had 100 grand, 150 grand. And sometimes they'll look at that and say, oh, that's a big chunk of money. I can go blow a bunch of that every year. I'm okay. I'm good. And that's not the case. What you should look at, and very simple, before you tweak anything as far as how much you want to pull on out, you should just look at the normal 4% rule. There's all kinds of versions, and no, it's 5, it's 3, it's all this kind of stuff. Just basic for now, look at 4%. So if you only had 100 grand, you would look at only pulling out 4 grand a year. So you look at, and that's not a lot of money. Nope, that's not a lot. So you look at that and you just add that to your Social Security. And maybe for a while you'd be working a part-time job. That's the other option. You retire whenever it is. It could be in your 60s, you could hit 70, and then you still staying on a small part-time job to stay busy. Along with your other stuff you got coming in, you might need to do, or might have to look at that. All that stuff don't sound great, but it might be what you have to do. And I tell you, some people I know that work a little part-time job really seem to like it. It kind of gets them out, gets them moving around, talking with people and everything else. So not so bad. But I would definitely look at 4%, using a mild 4% rule on what you have left once you get to that point, to back down to where you're at. So for instance, let's say you have $2,000 in debt a month, and you're going to get 1,500 in Social Security or something like that, and you have $100,000. Don't say, oh, I can pay that 5 grand difference up, I go forever. No, that's not the case. You got to look at like 4% range. So that's 4. So you're going to be short. So you're going to have like $1,900 a month, or not even that, I guess. I'm sorry. You'll end up having less than the 2,000 a month if you under that scenario. So that's what you want to look at. Don't look at when you're done at the lump sum on your investment, your 401k. Don't look at that as the lump sum. You need to look at about 4% of that a year, approximately, that you're going to take out. So obviously, if you have 200 or 300,000, you take out like 12 grand. And that hopefully it should encompass the principal still there, year after year. Then you can throw 12 grand, say in that scenario, it's another 1,000 a month. So if you had the same $2,000 in bills, 1,500 from that 1,000, now you're well over. So get this. These are the simple things, but these are simple things. These are numbers, don't lie. This is what you have to stick with. You have to stay with. You have to look at. Don't run off on a crazy tangent and trying to think you're going to make some crazy money or go roll it all into something, and hope and pray that it's going to turn on out. Simple steps, easy. Look for things that have worn the test of time, that you can stay with. Basic averages on your part for like investing, not in what you should have for retirement, but what you're going to end up with and what you can pull on out then. Very simple. If you're going to be a multimillionaire, you can go out and you can pay some financial guy crazy money and he'll tweak this and do that and shave some more money here and there. This is definitely more for what I would call people below average, lower income earners, which is by 70% of America. And this is simple stuff to stay with. And it don't matter what age you start with, this is all things you can end up doing. Don't listen to other people. Do it yourself. I'll recap this. Simple. Budget. Wait for about a year. You'll know exactly where you're at. Social Security. Go on there, sign up, see what you're going to get. So you can put those numbers together. Your budget numbers, Social Security. And then you got your investment on the side. And you can kind of get that projected on out, and you can determine if you have to become more aggressive for now because you got a little bit of time and or work later in life at your job before you draw Social Security. These are the little things that you can end up as you go through life, you can end up seeing depending on what age you're at this point. For me, my late 50s, like I said, I got quite a few years. I'm staying aggressive on what I have in a 401 at my old job. That's going to stay that way for probably 8 years, 10 years yet before I have to make, because I need to at least try. I need to attempt to get that up there a little bit more until I can start putting more money in. So that's it. Just trying to throw out some simple things. If you got anxiety about it, hopefully, it's not coming from somebody who's living it, who's lived through it all, who knew numbers for years, what I should do, and couldn't end up doing it because just life is expensive, costly, that in the end, there's certain things you can do. So you know where you're going to fall at. Numbers don't lie. Just remember, numbers don't lie. So, hey, thanks. If you can like, subscribe, and comment down below, I'd appreciate it. Maybe throw some ideas out on what you've done, especially if you retired and you haven't did things and you're seeing a different light now. People need to see that stuff to wake up themselves so they know what they should be doing now. This isn't something that costs you money. All this stuff is free info, free stuff to go find out to see where you're at, and then you have to apply to, and that might cost you some money. Thanks again. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. We'll see you later.